an answer sheet, because all you have are graphs and where the solution to the system is shaded in. Okay. So what we are going to figure out, we're going to actually work in reverse order today and figure out, well, if this is the system, these are the solutions to the system, then what are the two inequalities? Okay, so we're working in reverse order. We want to know what were the actual problems, the two problems that you graphed. So two things you need to know. You might want to write this at the top. Two things you need to know when you're trying to find like an equation of a line or the inequality for the line. Okay, in this case, one, you need to know your slope. And who knows the other thing you need to know? Yes, the y-intercept. Because we are going to be writing these in slope-intercept form. So you're going to need to know the slope and the y-intercept. Now, it's going to be very clear what the inequality symbol is, because if it's shaded above the line, we know it's a greater than. And if the line is solid, it will be greater equal. Okay? And if it's shaded below, we know it's less than. And if it's solid, it's less equal. Okay, so all of those things are going to come into play to figure out what the actual original problem was. So let's start with the solid line. Okay, so we're going to start with the solid line first. Okay, this one right here. So I'm looking at this line. I can tell that this line is crossing the y-axis at what number? At 3. So I already know I'm going to have something plus 3. So there's my y-intercept right there. Okay. I also know or can determine the slope. And you can pick any two coordinates up here that you can actually read. Don't try to pick, where it's between the grid. So like for instance, I can see this one here. I can see this one here. I can see this one here. I mean, there are a lot of points I can choose, but I only need to choose 2 to do rise over run, correct? All right, so I also know, and again, this is how you analyze the lines, that it is going in a positive or negative direction. It's going in a negative direction. So I already know the slope is going to be negative. I already know that, okay? Now, when I do rise over run, it looks like it's -1, correct? So I'm just going to put negative x because we don't actually write the number 1. So that's really -1x. There's my slope. Still looking at the solid line, I can tell the shading is above the line, correct? So I know it had to be greater than or equal to. And then I just put my y and I'm done. Y is greater than or equal to -x plus 3. So that's what you're doing to each problem, figuring out the slope, y-intercept, inequality symbol. Okay, let's do the second one. So for the dashed line, I know I'm going to have y because it's going to be a slope-intercept form, number 1. Okay, where is this line crossing the y-axis? Right here at -2. Okay, so I know I'm going to have something -2. All right. Now, this line is shaded, look, below, and it's dashed. So what inequality symbol is that? Just less than. It's not less equal, it's just a less than symbol. So now the only thing I'm missing is what? The slope. So I'm going to choose this point right here because I know it crosses at -2. Okay, and then I'm going to choose another point. So let's choose this point right here. Okay, because you got to choose points you can read. And this is going in a positive or negative direction. All right, so I know it's a positive slope. And I went up 4 over 1. Correct? From the y-intercept, I went up 4 over 1. Right here. So that's going to be 4x. And there's my second equation. So 4x is less than, y is less than 4x minus 2. Number 2. So in question number 2, let's start with the solid line. It doesn't matter if I just choose one to start with. I can tell that this is crossing the y-axis at what number? Okay, at -2. So I'm going to have y, and then I'm going to put -2 over here because that's my y-intercept. This line is shaded above, right? So what symbol is that since it's a solid above? Greater, equal. Okay, so the only things left is to find the what? The slope. Okay, so let's see if we can pick another point along this line. Okay, looks like there's one right here. Okay, so go ahead and do the rise over run and see what you get. Looks like we're going to go up 4 and over what? 3. Okay, up 4 over 3. And so that's going to be a positive slope. So 4/3 x -2. All right, let's do the second one. Okay, second one, I'm going to go ahead and put my y. And if you want to go ahead and do the inequality symbol, you can right now, because look, this is shaded above as well. So is that going to be greater or greater equal? Okay, just greater. Okay, where is it crossing the y-axis? +1. So the only other thing I need to do is figure out the slope. Okay, so I have a lot going on here, so I'm just going to erase all of this so I can actually see it, where the slope is. So if I choose this point here, and what's another point? I could read this one here. Is this going in a positive or negative direction? Positive. Okay. So do we agree that that's going to be 1/3? All right. So 1/3 x. Okay. All right. Any questions on that? So that's what you're doing. You're going to be analyzing the lines, finding the slope and y-intercept, and choosing the correct inequality symbol. Okay, for all of these. All right, let's move on to part 2 of our lesson. So go to your second set of notes. Okay, so notice on this one, it says solving systems with 3 variables. So we have an x, a y, and a z. Okay, so we have 3 variables this time instead of 2. So what we're going to do is the steps are listed over here. We're going to follow these steps. So it says you're going to write 2 systems with 2 equations. So from this set of 3, we're going to see how we took the first and the second one up here. So that's one system. And then we did the second and then the third to create the second system. So basically you take the first 2, 1 and 2, and then you take 2 and 3 to create the second one. So that's all you do for step 1. So that's already done for you. Now, when you do this on your own, you'll have to do that step. So you'll take the first 2, create a system, and then take 2 and 3 and create your second system. Okay, so that's all we did for step 1. Now you're going to eliminate the z's. Okay, we're going to eliminate the z's in both. So let's take a look at, this is our first system here. So let's take a look at this system. If I want to eliminate the z's, what will I have to multiply the second equation by? -2. All right, so I'm going to put parentheses and I'm going to put -2. So let's just go ahead and rewrite the first one because we're not changing that. So we're going to just copy it. -5x plus 4y plus 2z equals -12. Okay. Now I'm going to write my new equation for the second one because I'm multiplying everything by -2. So -4x minus 2y minus 2z equals -6. All right, so we're going to go ahead and combine those together, add them together. So that will eliminate my z's. That was the whole point. And I'm left with -9x plus 2y equals negative 18. All right. So going to my second system, the z's will automatically cancel out. One's positive, one's negative. They cancel out. And when I add these together, I'm going to have 6x plus 3y equals to 12. Okay. All right, so I have just eliminated the z's in both. So step 3 says, now take your two answers that you have and create another system. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is take this one and this one and create another system. So negative 9x plus 2y equals negative 18, and 6x plus 3y equals to 12. So now I have one more system to work with. Now this is where you determine if you want to eliminate the x's or the y's. Okay, I'm just going to do the y's just because they're smaller numbers. All right, you can do the x's if you like. So let's say I want the top one to be a positive 6. What would I multiply by? 3. And I want the bottom one to be negative 6, so I would multiply by what? Negative 2. So now I need to go ahead and rewrite both of my equations multiplying by 3 and negative 2. So I'm going to have negative 27x plus 6y equals to negative 54. And then when I multiply the second one by negative 2, I'll have negative 12x minus 6y equals negative 24. Y's cancel out, which is what I wanted to happen. Okay. And then I end up with what? Negative 39x. And then when I add negative 54 and negative 24, I get negative 78. Okay, divide by the negative 39. And so what is the value of x? X equals to 2. So just like we did before, we can replace 2, going back to my two original ones, not where I made them bigger, into either one of these to get y. So I'm just going to replace it in the second one. Okay, this one here. So I'm going to replace x with 2. So I'll say 6 times 2 plus 3y equals to 12. Okay, and then just solve it. All right, so now we have our value for y, which is 0. Okay, so how do you think we're going to get z? Well, if I got x and y, I can plug it into any one of these now to find z. It really doesn't matter. Okay, I'm just going to use the first one, but you can use the second one, the third one. Again, it just doesn't matter. Okay. So I'm going to now say negative 5, because I'm using the first one, times 2 plus 4 times 0 plus 2z. And there's my equation. So as long as I'm only left with one variable, I can solve for that. So negative 10, this is just 0 plus 2z. And then when I add 10, I'll have 2z equals negative 2, so z equals what? Negative 1. Very good. So when I write my final answer, I just put it in the little set brackets. X was 2, y was 0, z is negative 1. You just put them in alphabetical order. Okay.